Hey guys, what's up? What's happening? The King of Games 98 here. How you doing? Hope y'all are doing good and staying safe. And for this Christmas movie review, I am really excited and looking forward to this one. I really, truly am. The Year Without a Santa Claus has been a staple Christmas movie in my household for pretty much as long as I can remember, my earliest years being a kid. you know, this movie has been with us for a long, long time. Now, I'll be honest, this is not my original copy of this movie. Our original copy of The Year Without a Santa Claus was on VHS tape in a clamshell white colored case. That is how long we've had this movie and how long it's been with us through many, many Christmases. Then what started happening was I wanted to try to upgrade movies, holiday-themed movies that I had on older formats to newer formats, and I found this DVD copy, so I got rid of the VHS tape copy, which I think was a good call. VHS tapes are great and all, but sometimes they don't last, and so this just made made more sense. So, The Year Without a Santa Claus. Now, did I grow up watching this? Technically, no, because this movie came out way before my time. But when I was, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, I'll say, I remember watching this. Now, that is largely due to my dad. My dad grew up watching this: Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, and the Little Drummer Boy even. As a kid on TV, he would watch them during the Christmas season. So if it wasn't for my dad, I may not have ever watched these growing up, or let alone known about them. So, yeah. Okay. So, if you've never seen The Year Without Santa Claus, which I'm sorry, even if you've never seen the movie, you have to at least know who Snow Miser and Heat Miser are, and you had to have at least seen the clips online. They're famous, Even if you haven't seen the whole movie, you had to have seen the clips with at least them two, fighting each other and bantering. It's hysterical. So if you somehow haven't, here's how I would sum up The Year Without a Santa Claus briefly. So Santa Claus gets a cold and then decides that there's not enough Christmas cheer, and there's not, no one believes in him anymore. And then, on top of the cold, he just goes, you know what? I'm not delivering toys and gifts to Christmas, or I'm not delivering toys and gifts to people and children on Christmas. I'm taking a holiday. And so Mrs. Claus sends Jingle and Jangle elves with Vixen to go find Christmas cheer and find people who believe in Santa Claus so that they can change his mind. And then, the Heat Miser and Snow Miser subplot, and, Mother Nature gets involved. But that's how I would briefly sum it up without really spoiling anything. Although this movie has been out for so long, or Yeah, well, no. I don't know. Would I call it a movie? Yeah, I'm going to call it a movie. This movie has been out for so long that I find it really hard to believe if someone actually hasn't seen this. Okay, so now I'm going to talk more in depth about the company who produced this, the other movies, the other famous Christmas movies they've made, and a little bit about the cast of this movie. So, The Year Without a Santa Claus was produced by a company called Rankin and Bass. Rankin and Bass was an American production company located in New York. They were in business from 1968 to 1983. They are most known for their seasonal TV specials, usually done in stop motion animation, which, if anyone is watching and has any clue or has any actual experience with stop motion animation, that's not an easy thing to do. Their stop motion productions are recognizable by their visual style of doll-like characters with spheroid body parts. And that's a very accurate description because all of their movies, the characters look like dolls, but they move. And they said spheroid body parts, and yeah, I would agree with that statement. Now, you may or may not have heard of the company name Rankin and Bass before. If you have, here's why. They are also well known for Frosty the Snowman, 1969. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, 1970. The Little Drummer Boy, 1968. Nestor, the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, 1977. And they even did Here Comes Peter Cottontail, 1971. Okay, so if you've heard of the name and aren't sure why, that's probably why. Because they were so well known for making holiday seasonal specials for TV. And they also directed the animated Hobbit movie from 1977 and the Return of the King animated movie from 1980. I thought that was impressive and worth noting. So, yeah. Lastly, we have the cast of The Year Without a Santa Claus. Now, most famously, Mickey Rooney voices Santa Claus in The Year Without a Santa Claus. That's, I think, the most famous person in the cast of The Year Without a Santa Claus. And if you're familiar with that name, but maybe not sure of, things he's been in, if you've seen, he was in Breakfast at Tiffany's with Audrey Hepburn. Yeah. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Night at the Museum, and was even in Disney's Fox and Hound. So, I mean, among other things, he had a very big acting and voice acting career. So, yeah. Alongside him was Shirley Booth. Now, I could not find anything that I knew of famous-wise that she had been in. But she voiced Mrs. Claus in The Year Without Santa Claus, and she has a couple singing parts, and her voice is actually really, really good. George S. Irving voiced Heat Miser in The Year Without Santa Claus, and the two things that I wrote down for him that he also was in that I thought was, pretty famous and people would know was the Underdog cartoon from the 60s and the TV sitcom from the 70s, All in the Family. There's no need to fear. Underdog is here. I thought that was cool. And lastly, we have Dick Shawn, who voiced Snow Miser. Now, he was in a lot of movies, and really the only one that I recognized that stood out to me was he was in the movie It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. Other than that, I did not recognize any other movies that he was in. And this was sad when I don't remember exactly how old I was when my dad told me this, but dad told me, I guess, when I was old enough and still watching this during Christmas, he told me that Dick Shawn was a famous actor and comedian. And tragically, he had a heart attack on stage one night while performing a stand-up routine and passed away at the age of 57. He was only 57 years old when he passed. Absolutely tragic. Really sad. Well, that's basically all I had to say about The Year Without a Santa Claus. Now, what's funny is, the day I'm recording this movie review is Thursday, December 19th. Yesterday, Wednesday, December the 18th, I happened to see an article pop up on my Google feed that read, and I quote, "The Year Without a Santa Claus, in parentheses 1974, turns 50 years old this year." Now, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I have to review this year now because this is special and significant. So, happy 50th Year Without a Santa Claus. Even though I personally did not grow up watching you, I'm glad that my dad did and that he passed this Christmas classic on to me. And I would like to pass it on to my kids when I have them, that is, and keep it, keep it going through the family, We used to have this dancing snowman, and I'm sure when I describe this to you guys watching this, some of you will probably know what I'm talking about, some of you may not, but that's okay. We used to have this dancing animatronic snowman Christmas decoration that was on a blue colored base with white snowflakes around the base, and when you pushed the white button, he would sway left and right, and it would play the Snow Miser's song like the snowman was singing it. And he had in his one arm a hat, a top hat that he would put on his head and take off, and then in his other hand he had a couple snowflakes that would light up blue. And I remember this very distinctly, having this as a kid growing up. And I distinctly remember when my grandmother, on my dad's side, when she would come over and visit and we would play that for her, she had the biggest smile on her face because she remembered hearing that song from watching this with my dad as a kid when he was growing up. Okay, so it's the little things like that in life and the memories like that in life that will just always stay with you and you will never forget them. Now, the crazier part is, so this movie is 50 years old and it's only 50 minutes long. Ladies and gentlemen, The Year Without a Santa Claus isn't even an hour long, which I can't believe that. But at the same time, I think it's a good thing that it's only 50 minutes long because, it's made for kids. Let's be honest, okay? Kids usually don't have a long attention span. So at only 50 minutes long, this is perfect to show kids during the Christmas season. Guys, I love this movie. and you will never, ever hear me say a bad thing about it. And the stop motion quality for being 1974, I still think looks amazing. Now, obviously, you can't compare it to, say, 2024 standards, but for its time, I still think it looks amazing. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know down below in the comments section, where does Year Without a Santa Claus rank in your family and in your Christmas-themed movies?